After a night like last night, 37-20, Cleveland Browns beat the Jets, Thursday Night Football, clinch a playoff spot. You think you're not getting bonus content? John Kosko, PFF, is here. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. I appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. And if you are not part of the everyday crowd, get a new plan, stand, subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. To post your job for free, terms and conditions apply. PFF John Kosko in the house, just continuing to ride the wave, obviously, of all the emotions, the satisfaction, the gratification of last night, 37-20. The voice is still hanging on by a thread here, guys. We're doing the best we can. But John, and everything going into that last night. And, I know some people were nervous. Obviously, the Jets have a very good defense. The Browns were able to get after it early, kind of play runaway and hide. And we actually haven't had you on here to even talk any about this Joe Flacco led realm, who is now the leading touchdown passer, most completions through 5 games, obviously now as a Browns quarterback. But between, obviously, Joe, Chief, it got going early and often last night. And the next thing you know, we were turning the scoreboard to second quarter, and this game is pretty much over.
Yeah, I mean, Flacco's been an interesting case, right? So Browns are making plays, right? So it's not him. I think the whole team is playing better, offensively especially. And they're doing it with an offensive line that's been patchwork. They had, a number of offensive linemen missing for a couple weeks there. Obviously on their, third and fourth and fifth string offensive tackles. Joel Bitonio went out of a game, missed most of the game. So the only, Ethan Pochek has been hurt as well. So the offensive line has not been very good during the stretch run that Flacco's been playing. But obviously Amari Cooper stepping up, David Njoku stepping up, Elijah Moore stepping up, Cedric Tillman starting to really come on lately as well. And Flacco's just been able to make plays and extend plays that you would just not expect him to make, at 38, 39 years old, and the lack of mobility that, he has, and so I think for him, he's been able to keep the Browns on schedule despite everything that's going against them in terms of an offensive line that's not able to actually protect at a very high level. So last night was almost no different. The first half, it was, Njoku catching shorter routes, taking them, breaking a couple play tackles, taking them longer, and then also Flacco on top of it, making plays down the field as well, with a couple of dots from him to Njoku. His scramble out of that pocket where he got hit in the face mask, that not called with a face mask, not called for roughing the passer, which both of those should have been called on that. Finding Jerome Ford on the scramble drill, and then Ford taking it for a touchdown, like that. He's making a play there, and then the team is also backing it up for him too. So it's a total team effort here that the Browns are having, and it's even if Flacco's down to down consistency or throw to throw, he's maybe missing some throws, he's still making up for it in other ways, and also the team's picking it up too.
And this is something that's truly, truly impressive for, all these skill guys. Look, it's hard enough to go from one quarterback to 2 to 3 to 4. And it's really hard. I mean, there were weeks these guys were going in, and we were to Wednesday, we were to Thursday, we were to Friday. No idea who actually was going to quarterback this team, the Sunday coming up. And for these guys every one of them still to be performing at a very high level statistically as well. It just shows, and look, all the mantras, the next man up, the do your job, the 1-0, and yes, I will continue to say they can sound corny when they don't work. But for this team, they have worked. And, people, Cedric Tillman, you're talking about a rookie wide receiver trying to find his legs in the NFL. How about doing that every week when you have no idea who your quarterback is? But it's just been so amazing the way these skill guys have been able to stick to the script, regardless of who's back there. And, we've seen PJ Walker with moments. We certainly saw DTR with a big moment closing out the Pittsburgh game with a win, Deshaun, and now Joe. I mean, there's just really no words for it because, the level of dedication and sticking to your craft to be able to do this with that much change behind center has just been amazing.
Yeah, and you just look at the team as a whole. Obviously, defense has been phenomenal all year long. But you give credit to Stefanski and Andrew Berry for putting together this team. Obviously, the talent that's on this team is really good. And if you have average quarterback play for this team is going to win you a lot of games, which is what they've been getting for most of the year. And they were able to win games when they had subpar quarterback play when PJ Walker was out there. Like, I don't think people understand how bad PJ Walker was for the games that he was out there. DTR was actually playing at a pretty good level, especially for a rookie. But PJ Walker was really bad. Joe Flacco comes in and he just he knows how the timing of quick game plays, the intermediate game, and even the deep ball. Like, he's just playing on schedule and in rhythm of the offense, and then also being able to make plays outside the pocket. And it's a big part of being a quarterback in the NFL is just throwing in rhythm. There's these play action plays that the broadcasts and stuff like that everybody talks about. He'll go back there and do a play action. The one time I think I've seen him not do well on a play action was the interception that he had against the Jaguars after the muffed punt that he threw. He threw the interception to choke up the scene. He was a tick late on it. He throws that in timing. That's a touchdown. It's usually something that you're going to see him hit in perfect stride. So he's just able to execute the offense, and the plays are there. I think we've been saying it for years that Stefanski is scheming up open guys left and right. It's just we hadn't had a quarterback that's been able to throw the ball on schedule in rhythm consistently. Baker did that for half a season in 2020 when things were rolling for the Browns. But the problem with him is that he wasn't able to really create outside of structure, and then he kind of I talk about in the playoffs there. He kind of choked it away in against the Chiefs in the divisional round game. Flacco, on the other hand, right now, when it's not there, he's making plays and he's not, obviously he's throwing some interceptions and stuff like that, but man, he's when you're talking about being able to just throw down to down consistency of being able to keep you on schedule, that shows a lot what you can do in the NFL. And that's kind of, if he can just eliminate those turnovers, this team is going to be really dangerous in the playoffs, as long as they can get Cooper and Elijah Moore back healthy. Because I think when you saw both of them out in that game last night is when things kind of got a little shaky.
Yeah. And, good thing for them last night, and something hopefully that can continue here for them is, having some sort of running game. Obviously it's just going to increase, the opportunity to succeed on play action, and obviously give defense something more to worry about, concern themselves about, as Jerome Ford, Pierre Strong, and Kareem Hunt. You're never going to look at it statistically, but the fact that Kareem Hunt has come in this year and scored 9 touchdowns is absolutely mind-blowing, just looking at the way the situation worked out for him all summer. We're going to keep it rolling here. We're going to talk the defensive side of the ball here. John Kosko in for the ride. Don't you dare go anywhere. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top-tier candidates as possible to interview. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many qualified candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have time or resources to hire. So when they do, they need to hit. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, and easy. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns, PFF John Kosko along for the ride. Appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen. Make sure, if you are not part of the Locked On Browns everyday crowd, you hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel and you get into the party. Show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, John, it's been going on, obviously, and there's so many boring debates on social media that get so out of hand. But the fact now with Myles Garrett, and now the fact that the talent around him is starting to, maybe the gap's getting, even as far as what Myles is playing with as opposed to what Myles has played with in the past. And now you were seeing the true effect. Nothing's really changed for Myles. He's always been this successful, but part of having the elite, great, incredible pass rusher is that basically everybody eats off the carcass. And this is what we're starting to see here. Obviously, this season, it's certainly been a case the last couple of weeks. Zadarius Smith, Alex Wright, 3 straight games in the sack total. And, statistically, maybe if you look at it, but this might be one where behind the stats and the new generation of stats truly establishes that Myles probably is the defensive player of the year this year.
Absolutely. Like, sacks don't, like... It's a stack is a one. I mean, what? So a defensive player plays 1,000 snaps in a year. All right. They have 20 sacks. 20 out of 1,000 plays is what you're basing a defensive player of the year award on. Like, it's ridiculous. You need to be able to see what the guy does the rest of the game, the rest of the snaps that he does. Myles Garrett, on the other hand, we can just go over it. So he's number one in overall pass rush grade. He's number one in defensive grade of any position. He's got the number one true pass rush rate. He's got the pass rush win rate. So like everything he does, his overall grade this year is a 94. Pass rush grade is a 94.8. Both records at the position, like in the PFF era ever. And then if you want to look at, like, he's gonna break 4 different PFF records this year because of how good he is and all those. You take out the 2 games where he basically was a bum shoulder. So against the Broncos and the Rams, he didn't look himself because I'm no expert. I'm no doctor or anything like that, but he said he felt something pop in there. Maybe he tore a labrum, or maybe he had like a slight dislocation, something like that. I have no idea, but he clearly didn't look himself and he was hurt. You take out those 2 games, his pass rushing grade goes up to 95.1. He had 94 total pressures in all the games minus those 2 games. Just he's been phenomenal all year long, and he's doing it with really good run defense as well. The one negative on him is that he's not a great run defender. Well, he's doing that this year. He's got a 77 something odd grade, which is very good for a guy that's a pass rush first type guy. And then I'd say the other negative would be he gets offsides on a handful of plays. Like, whatever. Like, I think you take the few negatives that he has when it comes to that with the good, because I think so. Like, he's number 2 in the NFL in terms of his pressures leading to a negative play for the offense. Like 6, of the pressures he gets, like 64 of them have turned into negative plays for the offense. Only behind Micah Parsons, who has, I think, at 67 or something like that. So it's really, really impressive what he's been able to do this year. He's the best player on the best defense in the NFL. That generally gets you the Defensive Player of the Year award. He had a lull with the sacks. Part of that is he's getting double and triple teamed. Even on screen plays, he's getting triple teamed like we saw last night, which is insane to think about, because on screens, you're generally wanting to invite that press rush to get up the field so he's not able to turn around and go and make a play. So, yeah, he's been phenomenal all year long and breaking records.
And for him and a player, for all he's been through, and look, we've had these discussions for several seasons with Myles, but it gets to that point where the Browns find themselves getting further and further out of contention. All of a sudden, maybe the eyes aren't on Myles. Obviously, last night with the Browns on this winning streak, with the Browns at 11-5, the eyes are not going away from the Cleveland Browns, and Myles Garrett is 100% being appreciated for what he's done to this point. John, obviously, former safety that you were, one of the biggest parts of this Browns defense early in the season was the combination of McLeod, Thornhill, Delpit. As we know, McLeod not to return. Grant Delpit, they're hoping he'll be ready for a playoff run. Juan Thornhill gets back in the lineup last night. But you're talking about an undrafted free agent, Ronnie Hickman, who has played lights out as a starter. DeAnthony Bell and Jim Schwartz being smart, saying, look, I know you're a special teams guy, but I will find the correct way to use you on this defense so you're not going to go out there and be a liability. And just like, hey, the phone call for Joe Flacco because he needed a quarterback. Oh, we need a safety? Oh, well, there's a free agent who's a 3-time Super Bowl champion. Let's get him here into the mix. And Browns have 4 different safeties with interceptions this year. None of them came from Juan Thornhill. None of them came from Rodney McLeod. So these backup guys are getting it done. John, just some talk on that, because that was a big part of this Browns defense that all of a sudden became the empty room. But now all of a sudden they're getting every bit of production out of that group as they were when they had the 3 top guys.
Yeah. It's one thing that's interesting about this is like, I think you've seen it in the past, 3 or 4 games where, Evan Ingram had some really good success against the Browns from a tight end position. Cole Kmet had some good success against the Browns, and so did Dalton Schultz. Last night we saw Juan Thornhill come back. I mean, the Jets have Tyler Conklin. He's not like a big threat at the tight end position, but I think you saw that the absence of those safeties and Grant Delpit and Roddy McLeod and Juan Thornhill of being able to kind of limit them. Like, as good as Hickman and Bell have been in terms of replacing them, there's a reason why they're backups and not the starters or whatever. If the Browns can get back Grant Delpit for that playoff run, it really transforms the defense. Like, it's just another player on that field that is able to lock up a tight end and also fly and make you have the blitz package that you have with Grant Delpit. But the fact that these guys are still making these plays has been phenomenal. Like, I think a couple weeks ago, Ronnie Hickman had the highest grade. It was a rookie of the week for PFF at a 90-something grade. So like even without those guys and their talent, like being able to utilize them and put them in positions to succeed within this defensive structure has been really impressive from Jim Schwartz. And you have to give credit to these guys that they're making plays when they're there to be had. I think the interception that Hickman had last night for return for a touchdown, Garrett was like destroyed the offensive tackle and was like going to make the play in the backfield. But that's the thing, is like, that doesn't result in a sack, but the pressure there resulted in a pick 6, which is like, what's better? What is better, right? Like, the pressure forced the quarterback to throw it way too more sooner than he wanted to because he didn't read the defense. There's guys that make the pick and it returned for a touchdown. So yeah, the safeties they're obviously, when you have a pass rush unit that the Browns have, like, it allows those guys on the back end to play freely and make those plays. And credit where's credit due. Jim Schwartz putting them in good position, calling up the right blitzes and packages, and those guys are making plays and they're making their money's worth.
Yeah, well, and even on the interception, Trevor and Simeon probably had thoughts of, this was very similar. Myles Garrett broke my ankle on this a few years ago. I am not even going to take this hit. I am throwing it open or not, get this ball out of my hands before, my night ends here on Thursday Night Football. I talked on the pros game show, and if you guys haven't checked that out, obviously that's out now. We're going to elaborate a little further because, I've been around the game my entire life. John's been around the game his entire life. To truly, and just to this point, what this Browns season has been, it's miraculous, and it'll probably never get the respect it deserves. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Jeff Lloyd, John Kosko, continuing here, your latest Locked On Browns. Whether you had people over last night or you were out, you got to eat, you need some drinks, you can go to DoorDash. All of your favorite restaurants and stores, from retail to grocery, are on the app, so you can shop for everything you need to get ready for game day. You get 50% off, up to $10 value, when you spend $15 more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and you enter code LOCKED23. Subject to change, terms apply. Again, get prepared for game day. Stock up on your favorite appetizers, order all your tailgate gear on DoorDash, and then get ready to watch the Browns win. That's 50% off up to $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app. Enter the code LOCK23, subject to change, terms apply. Again, do not forget to use the code LOCK23 for 50% off the $10 value on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and spend $15 or more, subject to change, terms apply. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Continuing on here, your latest Locked On Browns victory Friday. Browns 11-5 in the playoffs after a Thursday night victory over the New York Jets. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. Appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns your first listen. Just subscribe to the damn YouTube channel, folks. You're missing too much good stuff. Become one of the everydayers. The show's always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. John, 4th and 5th offensive tackles. At times, second string guard, 1 point, even the third string center got some reps. You went from 3 safeties to safety 4, 5, and 6, playing cornerbacks 4 and 5. Every other positional unit has been pushed to the max. No Nick Chubb, of course. To go, and again, if you play 4 quarterbacks in one season, it's usually followed up by, we wonder who will be coaching that team next season. And they are looking to draft their quarterback of the future very early in April's draft. That ain't the case here this year. And however, tidal waves, blizzards, whatever came to this franchise, the tunnel vision, the stick to the path to success, week in, week out. There will not be another NFL season for any other team like this, because you're not supposed to get into playing guys 75, 76, 70. Heck, you had a kicker out there last night rocking 36 and a punter rocking 39 because you basically had no jerseys left. And what do you get? A punter who was known as a directional punter who kicks for 51.5 yards in his first game for the Browns. The kicker missed the extra point, but comes in, goes 4 for 5, does get a field goal. John, nothing deters this team.
Yeah. So you mentioned all the injuries that they had, especially on the defensive side. Anthony Walker, has missed 3 straight games now. Leader of that defense, especially the
And tough spot for Anthony Walker is Sione Takitaki gets better every week. But go ahead.
Yeah, and you think about it, right? Like this is kind of like, for me, solidifies how valuable Myles Garrett is to that defense. Like if he's gone, like this defense doesn't look anywhere close to as good as it is, right? Like we saw how it looked when he was hurt and how he was not as effective as he could be. So with what the season is like, 4 quarterbacks, the 4th quarterback, multiple starts from all of them. All of them only have 1 loss, which is insane too. So like, who has 2 losses? One of them has 2 losses. So it's just nuts in terms of what has been able that this team's been able to do. All the injuries you stack up against them. You look at the Jets. They lost their starting quarterback for the year, and we saw what they have a losing record. Now they're questioning is this coaching staff going to be coming back? Is this front office going to be coming back? Like when you go all in on a quarterback and it doesn't work out like this, it can cost you jobs. And even last year with the Browns, everybody kind of understood that Deshaun Watson was going to miss the most of that season. He came back and wasn't him, he wasn't himself or whatever. But like this season is just, special. It's different. I think when you lose a quarterback for one, your starting quarterback, then you have to go to your second string. And even if you have to go to your third string, like it's season's over. Essentially, you don't. What is it? The Tom Moore quote, which I won't say, when if Peyton Manning, number 18 goes down, we're screwed. To paraphrase, we're screwed. Like we don't practice screwed. And so like the Browns, they were prepared. They drafted DTR. They brought in PJ Walker because they knew that they wanted to bring guys in. And then when Deshaun Watson was out, they brought in Joe Flacco. And you look at like the 49ers last year, I'll also compare it to them, right? So they start the year with Trey Lance expected to be their starter. He goes down really quickly. Jimmy Garoppolo goes down as well. So they go into the third string quarterback with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy looks phenomenal. Obviously, now he solidified as a starter, but he goes down in the NFC Championship game because they didn't plan for anything behind Brock Purdy in terms of like somebody that can play. And at that point, like their season's over because they now they're on their fourth string quarterback and Josh Johnson, who then also got hurt in that game. So Browns, their fourth string quarterback is putting up records. So it's really truly special. And regardless of what happens in the playoffs now, they have a shot at the number one seed if everything shakes out the way they want it. Ravens have to lose both games. The Dolphins have to beat the Ravens this week and then lose to the Bills next week, and then the Browns obviously have to win next week, and they have the one seed. That would be quite the story. But I think it's been a special year just because of the fact of like the sheer number of injuries should say that this was a lost season, and it was anything but.
And it's just absolutely truly, and you tried to talk yourself into it. And by the way, it was poor DTR with the 2 losses. But I will still say, if DTR finished that Denver game, I think the Browns would have ended up on the way into that one. It comes down to coaching. It comes down to the way your organization is built. It comes down to structure, and it comes down to, look, all coaches say the same thing. Look, we're going to be all right. Coach, the injured list is longer than the guys who were at. I know, but we're going to be all right. But to truly say those words and have everyone in the locker room basically believe, and that's what made it what it was. And that's why Jimmy Haslam's going to have to write some big fat checks. He's going to have to make sure some people stay around here for a long, long time. Because it was always about the structure of this franchise and the way it was, and it is as strong as it could possibly ever be. People look, the jokes are gone. And now you start watching other games, and announcers bring up the Cleveland Browns, the way they're run, the structure of the organization. You got a guy like Joe Flacco to say, yeah, I'll come out to Cleveland, Ohio for a couple of weeks. A guy like Duron Home, yeah, I'll come out for a couple of weeks. And all seeing what's going on there and saying, hey, yeah, I want in. So it's been just absolutely incredible. He is John Kosko, of course.
One other thing, you talk about the structure, right? So the Browns hired Stefanski and then Andrew Berry, right? So they brought in the head coach because the head coach you need to have the vision of the head coach of what this team's going to look like, and then bring in the guy that's going to build that vision for you and bring in the players that the type you have. I think that was the correct approach to go. So many franchises go for the GM first, and then the GM finds his coach to the whatever. And really, you look at the best programs of all time, Chiefs, Andy Reid's the main man there. Bill Belichick, he was the main man there. Obviously, they're struggling now, but he was able to
2.5 decades. They were just fine.
They were just fine, exactly, right? So, Paul Brown back in the day, Tom Landry back in the day, it doesn't, Mike Shula back in, Jimmy Johnson, it doesn't really matter. The main guy is that head coach and having his vision. And I think, Jimmy Haslam, give him all his credit. He struggled to figure that out, and he figured it out and got in the right pieces. And now you've got a 3-headed monster in Stefanski, Andrew Berry, and Paul DePodesta.
And something that's not going to go away anytime soon. So Browns fans, if you're enjoying the success, stay in the realm of it because it's going to be here for a while. PFF John Kosko, obviously, schedules didn't really work here towards the latter part of the season. Was glad to get John on here today at John Kosko 3, of course. If you're looking for all these great rushing numbers that you want to argue with Steelers fans with, John's going to be the one that has them in the tweets. So make sure you grab those and you throw them back that way. TJ Watt, you're a fine player. You're not Myles Garrett. That's the end of that conversation.
Good player. Very good.
Great player.
Nobody's arguing that he's not. He's a great player.
He's not Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett.
I, of course, am your host, Jeff Lloyd. And again, appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. Subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available, always free wherever you get your podcasts. Enjoy your weekend. Obviously, we're not really sure which way this is going to break for the Browns this weekend. Have more after Sunday, obviously. And then actually no Monday night games. We'll have more officially on Monday where it stands for the Browns for the final week of the season. But we know one thing and one thing only. The Cleveland Browns are in the AFC playoff dance. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.